Hello everyone, I'm making this video to document the recent changes to my mod. This is a mod for Vintage Story called Pyrogenesis. It is version 1.0.3 on my system right now. And I'm just documenting one of the challenges that I had to deal with. And it has to deal with when you have two trees side by side that are the same species. Here you have two oak trees that are touching. And on this side, I have two oak trees that are touching. I pretty much copied parts of the game's stock code with respect to how the axe handles harvesting, and the problem is that when you take a tree down with an axe, the moment that the tree is taken down, the game performs a breadth first search, or BFS, from that block to determine what is part of the tree. Now, the problem is that because these are touching, the game can't tell where one tree stops and the next one starts. So the game kind of makes up for that by just drawing a giant spherical area and just removing all of the leaves in there. So if I were to take this tree and hit it with the axe from a distance so you can see it, you can see that that's exactly what happened. There's just this huge part of the leaves on this tree that were removed. And granted, this other tree is remaining intact, but it just kind of looks janky, you know. I wanted to do away with that, so I have two trees that are touching as well. What my code does, similar to the prior release, is when fire comes in contact with the tree, it'll highlight the box in blue for debugging, so I can tell where that event took place. And then it immediately performs a BFS. So it'll climb up this tree's trunk. It'll start to spread out through all the leaves. It gets to this canopy bridge between the two, comes back over here, crosses over, connects with the trunk, and comes down. So the code effectively treats both of these as one giant tree. And then once that is done, and it could be multiple, you could have 5 or 6 trees that are touching, but once that action has taken place, all of the leaves that were implicated in that are subject to culling. It's basically a canopy pruning event will take place, and the way that works is it only attacks the leafy leaf blocks. It won't attack the branchy ones, which are in a little bit closer to the trunk. So that will create clearance between the trees, and then the moment that happens, a second BFS is run from that initiating square, and this time it'll only capture the single tree, hopefully, because hopefully the branchy ones won't be touching. My experience is that is a pretty rare occasion, and it only happens when players drop trees down. So I also have some grass here along the ground, and that's just to demonstrate ground cover. Now, I didn't want to make a direct path because the fire might race over and hit this tree before this one's done burning. I just wanted to demonstrate that that there is importance when it comes to maintaining your forest. Now, just like in the real world, the most likely way that fire is going to spread from one tree to the next isn't via the canopy, it's via ground cover. So I'm gonna go ahead and set fire to this tree. And as you can see, both trees were pruned, and only this one tree is being identified as being a member subjected to fire. So the trunk and wooded elements are highlighted in red, the leaves are in green, and after a set duration, which is configurable in the config JSON, the leaves on this tree the remaining leaves will be purged in much the same way that the leaves were just pruned in that first event. And as that happens, you will have things drop, like acorns in this case. And then those acorns can be used to reseed the forest. So that, in conjunction with the ground being scorched, to allow the grass tufts to regrow. If I sit here long enough, the environment will look unchanged. The grass will regenerate, the grass tufts will regenerate, this bridge will probably reestablish between the two, and these seeds, which dropped on the ground, will turn into saplings and later trees. The idea is that the fire will temporarily alter the landscape, but not permanently. Over the course of many months of playing Vintage Story on a server, if you have natural fire events, like from lightning strikes, eventually you're going to be left with this, just barren green grass and no trees. I didn't want that. So I will allow this fire to continue burning here. It looks like it's taking the longer path, so I'm going to help it along here. And this is actually a use case, or a test case I haven't tested yet. What'll happen when this tree is subjected to fire when it only has the branchy leaves. So we'll see how that turns out here in a moment. It looks like my fire is allergic to trees. The goal ultimately is to prevent widespread forest fires, which are a performance hit to your server. There was the initiating event. That log got detected as being a candidate for fire. So 20 seconds after that event takes place, it should trigger the destruction of these leaves. And that prevents floating leaf blocks, floating log blocks, and everything else. That was the primary goal to even doing this. And there go all the leaves. You can see that the wooded member in the inside is highlighted in red. So even if the fire does not spread to those areas after the configured log burn duration, which is 80 seconds in my case, any remaining logs are going to be purged, and that prevents 100% prevents the floating block situation from coming up. And that should be happening here shortly. Plus the sounds are better when you hear the logs being broken in a large fire. It does add some additional noises to the forest fire, which I think is exciting. So there you have it. Both of these trees were taken out individually, and no floating blocks. So I'm going to do some testing, and then I'm going to push this release to the mod database, and hopefully people can give me feedback. I haven't received too much negative feedback yet. Most of the issues have been tied to other mods, not mine. One of the issues I need to address is this right here. If you set fire to just the ground, you can see that it stripped the grass off, which is fine. The problem is if I come by and just hit this again with fire a few times, well, probabilities are a bitch sometimes. Let me hit a neighboring one. There. So I just managed to get high fertility soil just by burning the grass off the top. Now I don't know if I want to leave that in or not. As it stands right now, it doesn't care if there's grass cover. I can come by and I can hit these squares again, which are now barren. And eventually I can get it to trigger an upgrade of the soil to high fertility, which is not realistic in my opinion. In my opinion, it needs to have some organic material to be added to the soil in order to enrich it. And this is kind of a hack, even though it is a pain in the butt to sit here and keep hitting the soil with a torch. I think it kind of detracts from the realism a little bit, and seems a little bit too cheaty in my opinion. So I'm going to update the code so that it requires the soil to have full grass cover, like this one, prior to it enabling an upgrade to a different. There, I just did it with that one. So yeah, that's my next step, is to make it so that only fully grassy soil blocks will permit an upgrade, or if there's organic material above it like this, if that's the case, I will permit the upgrade to happen. So that will probably be 1.0.4 before I do that, unless I can get it working here in a very short time before I push the release out. It'll probably be later this evening before I get around to doing that. So anyways, I hope this was exciting. I'm really looking forward to updating this mod and adding some new features. I got some pretty interesting ones in the works, so hope you enjoy the mod. Thanks for watching.